Get thee gone, and follow me no more.
You draw me, you hard-hearted adamant.
I think Helena is often played very whiny and victim-y. It'd just be nice to just look at that extreme, just to see what that does to the scene.
I am your spaniel, and Demetrius, the more you beat me, I will fawn on you. Use me but as your spaniel. Spurn me, strike me, neglect me, lose me. Only give me leave, unworthy as I am, to follow you.
I think her behaviour is quite weak victim. I mean, by virtue of the fact that she's chasing him around the forest and stalking him, but her words are a lot stronger than that. And she's using some clever arguments, and she's playing on words, which is quite a flirty thing to do. I think it's quite a charming thing to do. I think to be that subservient and that whingy undermines her.
She's fighting against being a complete sobbing victim, a complete wreck. So I think it's really good to play that so that you know that that's there. And that's simmering away, but I think the text is more sophisticated than that. And I think there's more to be found than just that thing.
If Helena is just a victim, that's unattractive for Demetrius. I don't think it really would mean that he would give up his pursuit of Hermia just because he feels bad. Guilt doesn't seem to be a huge part of his makeup.
Is there an element that we could look at that maybe we haven't so far in terms of their characters?
We could try and be more reasonable with each other. That we did have a relationship, we did get on, and try and find that ground to communicate with one another.
Slightly more adult, kind of everything under the surface.
It's more verbal in a way then, isn't it? Because it's more about really what you're
arguing,
reasoning.
Use me but as your spaniel. Spurn me, strike me, neglect me, lose me, only give me leave, unworthy as I am, to follow you. What worse a place can I beg in your love, and yet a place of high respect with me, than to be used as you use your dog?
You do impeach your modesty too much, to leave the city and commit yourself into the hands of one that loves you not.
What's really so useful about that is really getting a chance to really do the arguments. So in a funny way, you're almost taking the physicality out of it. You're saying this is much more about my mind trying to affect your mind. And I think what we know is that, particularly because they are teenagers, you can't take the body out of it. You don't want to take out the excitement of the physical presence.
Yeah, I think it makes it more adult. And I think that if they were capable of having this kind of conversation, they probably wouldn't be in this situation.
If someone is being very reasonable to you, it's very hard to step out of being reasonable with them. You know, if they are not trying to use emotional tactics, but more those of the mind, and seem in a sound mind in the way that they're trying to convince you of something, it's much harder to, write off their argument as emotional manipulation or sort of, love-induced lunacy. So you have to take them more seriously, I think.
If we're trying to understand it in modern terms, because after all, we want to make it work for a modern audience as well. Looking at these two in the woods, they would be much more sexually active, probably, at their age. So what would it be like if she really was thinking, well, the only way to get a boy is to offer yourself sexually?
I am your spaniel, and Demetrius, the more you beat me, I will fawn on you. Use me but as your spaniel. Spurn me, strike me, neglect me, lose me, only give me leave, unworthy as I am, to follow you. I mean, what worse a place can I beg in your love, and yet a place of high respect with me, than to be used as you use your dog?
It felt very calculated and very manipulative and very womanly, and to my mind more Titania than Helena.
Yes.
And I think one of the reasons why the text is so uncomfortable is because she doesn't quite realise how sexual she is being.
The idea of a sort of free pass to something certainly goes through his mind as being quite an attractive offer before realising, you know, coming to his senses and thinking that it would ruin everything and it would be very harsh for him to do that, and therefore needing to get out of it and tell her in no uncertain terms that she must stop doing this because he also doesn't trust himself to be a gentleman, I think.
It's at that point that Helena, I think, is the most vulnerable in the whole scene, because he said, OK, fine, I'll take you here and now if you want, I can. You've offered yourself up in that respect. And at that point, she throws in the tactic of genuinely opening up her heart and saying how much she loves him. And I think in the actual show, I try to play that moment as fairly tender and exposed, because
we need that.
I think you do need that after how vulnerable she's made herself, you know, in terms of being sort of an object. I think she needs to then sort of get back on her dignity and say, no, I'm not trying. I don't want to be your spaniel. I actually want to love you, and to have you love me back.
When you push something to an extreme and say, okay, let's just play it as if she's, you know, being overtly sexual, or let's just play it as if she's, you know, really just being a victim. Sometimes what you realise is it's a bit of a dead end, because it's only interesting for a short while, and then you want to see the character have more colours to them and see that the character is going to try different things to get what they want. They're not just going to always be a victim or just be, you know, sexually provocative.
I think in terms of trying scenes in many different ways, I always think that's useful. I think in every line you say and in every new thought you have, to know that there are infinite possibilities within it is a very useful thing.